to another episode of The Quiet Dream as we continue the build-up and countdown to the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Today we're looking at short track speed skating, and it's a sport I can't wait to see at Milano Cortina. It's a pure sport for casual observers of the Olympic Winter Games who maybe aren't familiar with a lot of the nuances and technicalities of the Olympic Winter Games and winter sports, but it's a sport you can understand really quickly, and it's a sport filled with thrills and spills and terrific athletes who put it all out there on the track, as we've seen in the past, and it's produced, from an Australian perspective, the most iconic moment. Steven Bradbury's win in the men's 1,000 metres at Salt Lake City 2002 was truly stirring stuff, and I've had the pleasure recently of traveling through North America and to Utah and Salt Lake City and seeing firsthand the ice surface where Steven Bradbury won that gold medal. No statues of Bradbury at the Utah Olympic Oval, which we were disappointed to see, but you can skate on that ice as part of their public skate sessions, and even attending the venue, seeing the Belgium Olympic team members, some of those international athletes training there, and various athletes from around the world still utilising that space on a regular basis is great to see. And we'll have a chat about legacy in another episode, a bit of a bonus episode of The Quiet Dream coming up. But Bradbury's effort came on the back of a bronze medal from Australia, and it was a first Olympic Winter Games medal for Australia, the bronze medal in the men's 5,000 metre relay at Lillehammer, 1994. And that was backed up by Bradbury's individual win, and it was Australia's first individual Olympic Winter Games gold medal. So short track speed skating has a special place in the hearts of Australian winter sports fans, and fingers crossed that continues in Milan. The venue is the Milano Ice Skating Arena. It's a space which is being shared with figure skating, different ice surfaces, but venue is usually known as the Unipol Forum, and it has hosted high-level short-track speed skating events, and it's a terrific multi-purpose venue. So it's about 20 kilometres or a 20-minute drive from the centre of Milan, capacity of about 10,000. So, it'll be a brilliant space, and the Australians will be represented by Brendan Corey, who has had some big results over the past few years. He has been on the podium at major international events and has qualified a quota spot for the Australian Olympic team, and is expected to be announced when Australia announces its team over the next little while. But he certainly has a chance on his day. A very different character to Steven Bradbury. And our guest today to talk all things short track speed skating is Nick Moore, who travels the world covering short track speed skating, which is wonderful to say. It's great that people are able to do that. And Nick's an old colleague of mine and a good friend too. So I can't wait to chat to Nick about everything that makes Brendan Corey tick, but also the marquee names in the sport of short track speed skating. There is a Canadian by the name of William Dandjinou who has turned the sport on its head a little bit. He's 6'3". He's a tall man, celebrates with his big, gets his big wingspan out and celebrates, flaps the arms a bit like an eagle, and really has tried to bring a bit of spark to the sport, as he's suggested, and try and bring a bit of that showmanship. So he's certainly one to watch, and there was a period where he kept winning every event that he was skating in earlier in the World Cup season. So I think he won 5 gold medals in a row, which is an incredible feat, given just how fickle short track speed skating can be, with the tight turns, the jostling, how quickly you can lose an edge and slide out, as Steven Bradbury saw competing against some of the greatest skaters in history. And he made the final, won in his own right, got some luck that day, but he, if you've ever heard Steven Bradbury speak, you'll know his story and how passionate he is about it, and the credibility that he feels he deserves and absolutely does. And he has had an incredible career leading up to that period as well. The culmination at Salt Lake City is the climax of that, and can't take away just how incredible that is. And the folklore of Australian sport, Steven Bradbury's epic and iconic win at Salt Lake City 2002. But that is the sport of short track speed skating, and that is what we will look forward to in terms of just how thrilling it is and will be at Milano Cortina. Short track speed skating is one of those pure Olympic Winter Games sports that even casual sports fans can tune into, understand what's happening, and embrace the chaos, speed, and athleticism of the athletes competing. And there is no better person to chat with to find out everything about short track speed skating. Nick Moore is a freelance sports expert, director at AMP Media, and genuinely maybe the foremost authority within the media anywhere in the world on all things short track speed skating. Imagine hearing that said out loud 20 years ago, Nick Moore. But Nick Moore joins us. Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm really good. It's always lovely to chat to you, Will. A real pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think I got that title by default, really, because nobody else was hanging around. It's a bit like the old. Yeah.
It's a sport that you love, and I think a lot of people will fall in love with through the Winter Games. Why do you love it?
Well, I was introduced to it sort of by chance around 8-9 years ago, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. I started covering it at a Youth Olympic Games, Winter Games, and you just see it, and it's initially just like, this is a crazy sport. It's mayhem. But as you say, very simple to understand. They all start together. The first one over the line gets the gold medal. It's a sport that my mum would tune into and watch and enjoy. She always enjoys watching the Olympics, but some of them a bit too confusing. You can watch ice hockey, and I don't understand that. I can't even see the puck. So it's, but this is very, very clear. It's just a battle of humans going round and round in a circle, and then you stir in this mayhem, this unpredictability that is great for the spectating public and an absolute horror show for the athletes, unfortunately, because I think if you were a 1,500 metre swimmer or a 1,500 metre runner and you rock up at the Olympics as the best in the world, then you've got a very strong chance of taking a medal. Nobody's going to dunk you out of your lane or push you underwater, or it maybe in the running there may be some knocking or some tactics, but you turn up in the 1,500 metres in the short track and nothing is certain. We've got a few people that have got a very good chance this time around, but you just cannot bank on anything. It's dangerous. It's cruel, and it's just a lot of fun to follow, really. And the athletes are great. They're doing it for the love of it. They're not in it for the money. There's no money in it. They are basically amateurs, and they absolutely thrive off the buzz of going around this track very, very fast on sharp skates, wearing lycra. That is now reinforced with Kevlar, so they don't really hurt themselves. But yeah, it's just a tremendously fun thing to watch, and you can't help but fall in love with it when you watch it, I don't think.
There are some iconic characters and athletes to follow across so many of the sports at the moment. I think we are in a wonderfully blessed phase with so many of the disciplines. Short track has its own building icon in William Dandjinou from Canada. Yeah. Can you tell us about him? What makes him different? Why he has taken the short track world by storm, and how big a games can he have, or do you expect him to have?
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy. He stands out for a number of reasons. He's very tall. I don't know, he's maybe 6'3", something like that.
Yeah.
Which is really unusual for a short track skater, where the received wisdom is it's the little guys that have got the best physique for this, because they're going in very tight turns. You have to hunch down and get into a low crouch position. That's harder for bigger guys, and you're nipping into little spaces and trying to sort of take space, and he occupies more space than most people. But he's overcome that by he's worked so hard on his technique that his technique is as good as a little guy. And then almost in the same way that you can analyse Usain Bolt as an extraordinary sort of athlete. There was a lot of talk about his stride pattern, that kind of thing. With Dandjenu, he can use his long legs on the straights to generate power. So physically, he's kind of, interesting. But then he's such a smart guy as well. He's very tactically clever. He can win across all three distances. He's not just relying on his physique. He's intelligent and confident. He stands out for a number of other reasons. He's a black guy in a very, very white sport. The whole Winter Olympics are very white. his dad's from the Ivory Coast, so he's kind of distinctive on the ice, and he's a real showman. He loves to kind of do special celebrations. He's got this eagle celebration, the going to sleep celebration. He has a crowd of ultras that follow him around in Montreal in particular. One of them has an eagle's head that they put on, and they've got a special Canadian flag they've made for him. He sells his own merchandise, which he chucks out to the crowd afterwards, T-shirts, hats, all that. And you may, from this sort of picture I'm painting, think this makes him a bit of a show-off, but he isn't at all. He's actually one of the most humble athletes I've ever met. I think I met him first maybe 7 years ago when he was ranked in 70th or 80th or something like that, and just got chatting to him and just thought, what an absolutely lovely guy. I was chatting to him in the lift. And every time we see him, he'll stop and say hello. And everybody will tell you this about William Dandjinou as well, going way back in Canada, that he's just the sweetest guy, and he's never really changed. And he's working hard to make this sport a fun, exciting sport. But it does bring him a lot of goodwill, and a lot of crazy stuff's happening to him now. He's on, his face was on the side of a Air Canada plane recently. He's got this personality and this look which could transcend the sport. So there's that. There's not many athletes in many of these sports that can transcend the sport. And then in terms of his potential, it was interesting listening to you talking to Luke about Marco Odermatt and the alpine skiing. It's a similar sort of character, very likable and clearly the best. So we wouldn't be surprised if Odermatt won 3 gold medals. I think I would be surprised if Dandjenu won 5, because he's going for 5 the 2 relays in the 3 distances, just because of the unpredictability of short track. He went to the World Championship and didn't win anything last year. Steven Dubois won 2 gold medals. He won some medals, but he didn't get gold. So, stuff can happen. So he could come away with nothing. And it's a cautionary tale across short track. There's from my country, you've got someone like Elise Christie, who I think is going to be working with us on commentary at these games. She went to the Pyeongchang Games in 2018 as the world champion and the best skater, and she just had a disaster and didn't win anything, and it was horrible. So I hope that doesn't happen to William Dandjinou, but it could. Christian Santos Griswold as well, the American skater at the last games, Beijing, she's right up there. She came 4th all the time. She nearly quit. It really messed with her head. So these are things that can happen. But yeah, if there's such a thing as a banker in short track, it's him. He's very very good. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
No, not at all. It's great. I'm really keen to talk about the women's side in a little bit, because you mentioned Santos Griswold and Arianna Fontana and her background as well, in and around, and Susan Schulting. But you mentioned Steven Dubois, who's a much more established name in prior games than Dandjenu. Where are some of the challenges likely to come for Dandjenu? Because you mentioned the 3 distances, 500, 1,000, 1,500 in the individual. The Dutch have some great names, career as well. Even Italy too have some strong athletes too, with Pietro Sighel. Where are the big challenges likely to come for Dandjenu?
Yeah, I think you're right. Dubois is a big challenger. He's a kind of a guy for the big occasion. And also the pressure isn't on him in the way it is on Dandjenu. Although he deals very well with pressure, it's his first games, and this is what he's been building up for 4 years. Dubois already has a gold medal from the relay last time around. We've interviewed him, and he's kind of like, yeah, of course I hope to do well, but I feel like I've done my my ambition, and I think that might help him. He's very talented. He's more of what I was describing before, the short, nippy kind of pocket rocket type athlete, and he's very smart. He'll take risks. He's been practicing taking risks for the last 4 years, so we will see him there. Probably the other main challenger to Dandjenu is this Dutch guy Jens van Wout. If I'm been trying to pronounce that correctly for a long time.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Jens van Wout. Is an excellent skater, and also really takes a lot of risks, and can win across all 3 distances, and has had some great tussles with Dandjenu over over the years, they hate it being built up into a rivalry because they're really close friends. And I think Wout lived with Dandjenu for a while, and they bring each other presents. It's all very sweet. But they will be fighting. He's quite an interesting guy as well. He's got a huge scar across his face, actually, just there. And when he comes on, and they sort of appear on the TV cameras, they always do a little sort of action, and he traces his scar across his face, and that was opened up by a skating boot about 5 years ago. He had his face slashed open. So he rides fast motorbikes. He's just one of those kind of guys. So he's a real rocker. Dubois, and then the Sighel, the hometown hero, also very accomplished across the 3 distances. Another man for a big occasion. Really, really pumped about this being in his home country. He's going to be one to watch. And then there's just a whole gamut of different other skaters that can get in there. But you certainly will see those 4, I think, in those A finals. It'd be a real surprise if they're not cropping up in most of the A finals.
You mentioned the risk taking of 2 of the next greatest in the men's field. Have they developed that risk taking focus purely because of the mountain in front of them of Dandjenu?
No, I don't think so. I think it is. It's a strategy anyway. You have to know how to read a race, and it's not something I fully understand as much as I talk to them. It's like, because afterwards they'll often say, "Oh, I was going to lead from the front, and it just went out the window," because somebody will decide to. Sometimes in a 1,500 meters race, someone will go out really, really quickly, and it's just game on straight away. Tactically, I mean, the 500 meters is less tactics. It's trying generally blast to that first corner first, turn on the burners, and just go for it. The other 2 races are more tactical, but yeah, there's usually a point where there's a big pack, and you might have to do a quick inside turn in the last lap. That's the kind of risk he's practicing over and over again. And sometimes he'll fall and mess it up, but the more they practice that, the more they know they can repeat it in these high pressure situations, I suppose.
From an Australian perspective, the sport is iconic. Steven Bradbury won Australia's first individual gold medal on the back of tactics, and anyone who's heard Steven Bradbury speak knows how proud he is of being there. He's famous for everyone falling and him winning, but he was in the final. And that's what happens in short track speed skating sometimes. He held his feet and he won a gold medal, and it's a charm story. You can't find a more iconically necessarily Australian stereotypically story than that from the triumph. But Brendan Corey has a different background to Steven Bradbury. I think they're very different people too. Bradbury's a flashy character. Fascinating to hear him speak these days. Brendan Corey seems to be very reserved, has Canadian heritage as well as Australian heritage too, but he is a genuine chance to make some noise in Milano Cortina as well, isn't he? What's he like, and what are you expecting from Brendan Corey?
Yeah, he's another very interesting guy. As you say, grew up in Canada. There's a lot of skaters on the circuit that will be representing different nations that are either secretly Canadian or secretly Korean. There's a lot of both. But he has, as you say, a very strong Australian heritage. He's extremely proud of it. He loves talking about his Aussie grandparents and going to Australia, and he opted to go straight for Australia rather than try his luck in the Canadian team. I think he is good enough to be in that Canada team, so it's not as if he's just decided to invoke the granny rule to get to the Olympics. It's a genuine choice, and it's made it interesting for him because he's had to train with different countries. You can't train on your own. So I think most recently he's been training with the Italians, and he's been loving that. He seems a very shy guy. He's very nice. Not the opposite of Dandjenu. He's not a showman. He's not a great talker. But a genuinely nice fella, and absolutely loves the sport, and he has a very steely determination about him. That came through in the world. He won the world championship bronze, didn't he? Was it the year before last, I think? Which he was so proud of, and very quick to talk about Bradbury and talk about how Bradbury wasn't just this funny story from the Olympics, but actually a genuinely excellent athlete, which he was. Bradbury went to 4 Olympics. As you say, he got to that final, but in that final, he had 2 of the greatest skaters of all time, Apollo Ono and Victor Ann were both in the final. So, he was going for the bronze. He got the gold. But Corey, he's got a chance. He's not had the best season. He's not appeared in as many A finals as he might want to have done, but he's always got that. He's in that pool of maybe 10 athletes who can get to the A final, and you'd hope he would maybe get to one, and then, as you say, anything can happen. So it's the chance for it to be written again is there, but he would rather do it in a less glamorous way, I think, and actually earn his medal in a straight race without any falls. But people fall because they make mistakes, so you can't say that. Those guys in that Bradbury race, they messed up, so they deserve to lose because they just were all over each other like a big.
That's it. Pressure of an Australian breathing down their neck.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Steven Bradbury probably murmuring at them. On the women's side, the Italian connection has to start with Arianna Fontana. She is a legend of the sport, most decorated Olympic athlete in Italy's history. She's won 11 Olympic Games medals. It's incredible. Looking for 6th game. She was toying with long track, speed skating as well as short track. Do you know what her situation is? I think there were some injuries involved as well.
Yeah, so the year before last, she decided to try and skate both sports for 2 seasons with an eye on getting to Milano Cortina and skating in both speed skating and short track. And she hasn't. I mean, the short story is she hasn't qualified in long track, partly due to injury. In fact, I think due to injury. I think she could have got in one event had she not been injured. Partly due to her teammates in the pursuit not quite being strong enough, I think. So it's a shame she's not making headlines for that. I think she did find doing both sports hard. You'd see her at these short track events and she'd just be knackered. She's like, usually the weekend before you'd be just resting and ready for an event, but she would be competing in long track. So it was kind of a crazy idea, but I really admire her for trying to do it. She could have stayed in her comfort zone and took all the accolades and just gone to short track. So it's a shame she hasn't made it. Nevertheless, she will be one of the iconic figures of the games. As you say, the flag bearer. To be at 6 games in this sport is particularly interesting. It's not curling or something like that where you can maybe rack up the years a little bit easier. She's amazing. She's won gold at the last 2 games. She's a little bit like Dandjenu, I think. She's got a lot of goodwill because she's a very cool person. Without wanting to sort of tell personal stories again, I met her again maybe 8 years ago, and I think I was trying to interview a different Italian athlete who didn't speak very good English. Excuse me. And Fontana speaks fluent English. She lives in America. She's got an American husband. She's like, I'll translate for you. And so she just stood in and was translating. I'd never met her before. And I was like, thanks, that's great. And then obviously got to know, but she's the sort of person that would do that, even though she's a legend and she's got Olympic medals in her back pocket. She's another one that is a genuinely good human being, I think. So I really hope she does something. It's going to be hard for her. She has been injured. She just picked up a medal at the European Championships, a gold medal. And again, a little bit like Dubois, she's got that. Her mind's not going to be her enemy at this thing. If she gets to that A final, she is an absolute killer. She is a killer. So it's just whether she can hold up physically against these younger athletes, the Zandra Velzebors, Courtney Sarot, these ones who are in absolute peak condition and are laser focused on getting those gold medals. Can she still mix it with them? She probably can, actually. So let's see. But that's going to be part of the fun, finding this out.
Yeah. The women's side seems to be a bit of a new era. Is that right? And who are some of these athletes who we can be really excited about? Because, as you say, Kristen Santos Griswold has an incredible story, heartbreak because of a fall at Beijing. She's back. She's at the top of her game. Suzanne Schulting, I know a favourite of yours, was over at long track as well, but the Dutch are always strong. Hannah Desmet, Korea's strong as well. Who can we really lock into and follow? Yeah,
it's a big question. I mean, you have got these 3 legends coming back, but you would think they're probably outsiders to win. So Fontana in the 500, we've just discussed. In the 1,000, well, actually, Schulting isn't doing the 1,000. She's only qualified for the 1,500. She's another interesting one because she she has successfully qualified for both speed skating and short track, which is phenomenal. And she's an incredibly determined athlete. But she stepped away from short track 2 seasons ago after getting a really bad ankle injury. I didn't know this, but apparently short track's much harder on your ankles than speed skating, I suppose, the tighter turns. And she really wanted to go to the games in speed skating, so she's like, I'm going to focus on that, but keep an eye on short track. And she has now returned to the short track team after not competing all season, and probably ruffled a few feathers in the Netherlands by doing that. Well, you can't say she's not in the team on merit, and she wouldn't just rock up after not doing short track for 2 years and win a gold medal. That would be a very shorting thing to do. So she's in the mix, but who knows? Logic says she shouldn't win a medal. She should be miles behind these new ones. The third legend is Choi, the Korean Min Choi. Again, won gold medal at the last 2. She's one that always focuses on the Olympics, and she'll kind of disappear a little bit during the cycle, and then she'll just come back. Another remarkable character, very, very zen, just seems to just skate without, I'm sure it is a lot of effort, but just looks effortless on the ice, technique, everything. And yeah, she will not be favourite again, but I would expect to see her on the podium. And then you've got this younger generation coming through. So for Korea, you've got this kind of mini Choi who's Kim Gilly, who again, brilliant technique, but is 20, full of beans. And, she won the Crystal Globe a couple of years ago. She's tremendous. In the 500 metres, the Dutch, Zandra Velzeboer, if she falls over, she'll lose. But if she gets to that first corner first, she's going to win the gold medal in the 500 metres, I would think. And then, the Americans you mentioned, Santos Griswold and her teammate, Corinne Stoddard, who's also had a very solid season. Seems to have been on every podium without winning gold. And she's got, she also has an interesting story, a bit like Kristen Santos Griswold, or KSG, as people are calling her for short, which makes her sound like some kind of Middle Eastern despot. But the two of them have both been through the mill. Kristen with Beijing and wanting to quit and thinking, all this kind of stuff. And Corrie with some health problems, and she went through very bad insomnia and was thinking about giving up the sport as well. She's bounced back. So they're a fascinating pair. They're really close friends. They have a joint Instagram page. So they're quite cool. And USA are kind of underdogs in this sport, which is unusual. And then there's this season's sort of standout performer, Courtney Sereau, who's really dominated like Dandjenu this year. She can do it across the distances. She also has an interesting story of having gone through the mill with her health. Hormonal issues, overtraining, sort of a little mini sort of mental breakdown about just, whether she could do this sport or not, because she just wasn't improving. This was about 2 years ago. She was on the verge of quitting. Her dad's an NHL player, so she's from this rich sort of sporting heritage. And again, a very cool person that you want to see do well. And she's really come back from a pretty nasty mental turn of events. So another one that you want to see do well, and you think will do well, but it's all in the mind for her. I think physically she's the best. And then a few others, as you mentioned, Hannah Desmet and some of this younger generation have also got a shot. So there's too many to discuss really, but I would really struggle if you asked me to sort of write down a 1, 2, 3 for these races. But that's what's fun about it, isn't it? And you just don't want to see too many. I'd hate to see Kristen Santos Griswold get 4th place every time again, or something awful to happen to Courtney after what she's been through, or Fontana to have a nightmare. All these things would be difficult to witness, but unfortunately, short track does tend to sort of serve up this kind of despair and misery to athletes.
It's chaos, isn't it? And it's going to be a great games. It starts on Tuesday, the 10th of February, local time, the women's 500 metre heats. Then it's held every second day, so people can tune in and out and really sink their teeth into it. But the venue, the Milano Ice Skating Arena, It's an established venue. It's described as one of Europe's premier skating facilities. You've been there
Yeah.
before. You know it fairly
Yeah.
well. It'll have a
Yeah.
capacity of 10,000 for the game, so it's going to be a raucous atmosphere. The Italians love their winter sports. We've spoken a lot about that, but in particular, short track. Arianna Fontana. They've got great history in the sport too. What are you expecting from this venue? What's the ice like? And the area is, I think it's about 20 kilometres from the centre of Milan. So we'll have that real city sort of vibe as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. When I first was told I was going there, I was really excited, thinking I'd be sitting on some lovely cobbled street drinking cappuccino, and it's actually a very, very extremely ugly bit of Milan. It's in the industrial heartland. I mean, I don't know what the Aussie equivalent would be, but it's like somewhere like Swindon or Milton Keynes in the UK. So it's this, and the building from the outside is this bleak kind of brutalist architecture. So you're a bit like, whoa, this is different. It's not what I was expecting from Italy, but that is northern industrial. We are in northern industrial Italy. It's a working sort of place. You get inside that building and it's magnificent. It's one of these places for gigs and concerts and sports. And at the test event in Milan, it's perfect. It's close to the ice. It's noisy. It's concrete. It's just going to be really, really exciting in there, I think. And as you say, the Italians are absolutely up for it. They've got Fontana, but they've also got a very good young team. There's Sighel. There's a very cool young lad called Thomas Nadolini coming through. He's a very coul guy with slick back hair and an earring, and a real dude. And then there's three young skaters on the girls' team who are extremely cool and very capable of doing something as well. They've been working fanatically on their relays and their mixed relay. You think everybody is working fanatically, but I think that home games does give you. It's been demonstrated time and time again, hasn't it? Sydney, London, the home athletes, they get a little bit more money, they get a bit more time off work, they get some benefits. They don't have to travel or think about different time zones. All these little marginal gains they're going to get. They're going to have their family there. They're going to have these crowds roaring for them. So I do expect the Italians to have a really great games and for that arena to be properly rocking. And they've got the best anthem as well. So I do hope we get to hear that anthem a few times, not just the Korean and Netherlands anthem, and Canada.
Yeah. With all due respect, of course. The circuit. What's the short track circuit like? Because you clearly speak so glowingly with the athletes and the access that they allow and provide. And the types of personalities that they are. I think anyone who ends up as a short track speed skater has a certain persuasion towards that risk and intensity and the thrill and adrenaline. But the circuit was shortened this year with the Olympics as the main focus. It's the pinnacle for these athletes. You mentioned that there aren't any riches involved, really. There's fame in some nations. But what's the circuit usually like, and what are some of the highlights for you being in and around the sport in a normal year?
Yeah, it's very, very different country to country. So, with all due respect, at some of the European dates, it will be a half full arena. We were in Gdansk recently, beautiful city and great rink, but the atmosphere wasn't crazy. But then other places will be absolutely rocking. Every time you go to the Netherlands, it's deafening. And those guys are crazy. They were born with skates on their feet. Obviously, speed skating is their national pastime, but short track has come into the equation a lot recently, especially with them being successful. So it is like being at a football game, being at a short track event in the Netherlands. Canada is probably somewhere in the middle. The arena in Montreal is fantastic, another great skating city. But they host a lot of events. There's usually one on one weekend and one the following weekend, which sort of dilutes the support a little bit. You'll still have Dandjenu with his ultras and a really good, fun family atmosphere, which is fantastic. And then you go to Beijing and Korea again. The Koreans love that sport, so you'll get a decent atmosphere sometimes there. And it's interesting being in these little geographic pockets, like the Canadian skaters. They're all from, apart from Sarro, they're all French-speaking Quebec natives, and that's another thing I do find fascinating about short track is that it'll come out these little little pockets. So everyone in that team is French-speaking Canadian from Quebec. There's thriving clubs there, but if you go to the other side of Canada, it's not really a thing. Similar to, I suppose, to the smaller countries like Britain and France, where literally if you're going to be a British speed skater, you need to live in Nottingham, and there's maybe 200 people in the whole country doing it. So I've often thought, if you want to get your kids to the Olympics, move to Nottingham, move in next to that ice rink. They've only got to be better than about 100 other people, and you can get the tattoo of the Olympic rings. But so the tour is it's a mixed bag. At some events, it's very professional. There'll be TV crews there. In the Netherlands, you have to wait your turn to speak to the athletes. It's a bit like the Olympics, where you'll be doing the TV, and I'll be down the other end with the press pack. Whereas in Dresden or somewhere like that, I can essentially I'll literally just go into the heat box and sit down next to them while they're changing their skates and say, how was that? And it's very informal, which is one of the lovely things about it. Again, the lack of protection between, not protection, but that layer of admin in between skater and journalist is really refreshing, especially if you've got a background in football or soccer like I have, where the agent will turn up and put the tape recorder on the thing, and they'll have the list of questions, and they look like they're gonna pull your head off if you ask anything untoward. So that's nice. So it's fun, and it's a little family. It's a little travelling circus, really. The circuit, same referees, same officials, so everyone knows everyone. So it's cool.
And one of the iconic lines that people can look forward to if they're not familiar with it, it's the starting cry from one of the officials. Can you give us your best get to the start?
Oh, mate, really? Is it go to the start?
No, you don't need
go
to
to the
do
start. Of course I'll do it. Ready, and then.
It's fun. One of those great lines. Get to the start. It's very just dry.
Ready.
So some fun atmosphere for people. Look, I'm excited thinking about it, listening to you talk about these great athletes and what they're going to provide. How's the sleep? I imagine you can barely sleep thinking about it.
I'm genuinely excited. I really am. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited to be working with you. You haven't mentioned the fact that you're going to be there interviewing these guys as well. That's top of the list. But very, very excited. Yeah.
Very good. Well, we're looking forward to it. So much more than just William Dandjinou, but maybe one of the great stories of the games if things pan out for him. The chaos, though, no doubt, at every turn with short track speed skating, and there are a few of those turns. So we can't wait for it. Nick Moore, as always, thank you so much for your time.
What a pleasure. Thank you, Will.